Well, certainly growth data is extremely weak. I think if you look at G3 PMI figures, you're seeing PMIs that are weaker. They haven't been weaker since the European debt crisis in 2012. And if you look at global trade figures, especially here in Asia, you haven't seen data this weak since the global financial crisis. So I think there's certainly a reason for concern about where we are in the global cycle and where we are from a growth perspective.
How do you see markets then trading from here? Japan down by about 3% today. US futures indicating that we could see another leg down when trading kicks off later on. Do you think we are going to be in store for a period of negativity perhaps until we see some of these growth figures turn around, till we see some of the data points looking a little bit more positive?
Yeah, it does seem like markets, if you go back to the fourth quarter last year, markets were pricing in a fairly weak growth environment. And then, of course, they bounced back in the first quarter, and there's a lot of focus on easing monetary policy and Chinese stimulus. So you have two things weighing on markets here. You have both a positive from an easing perspective in Chinese stimulus, but negative in terms of we still are looking at very weak data. So I think until we see some of those policies, whether it's fiscal easing in China or it's a monetary easing around the world, begin to filter through into better growth, then we're looking at probably continued pressure on markets.
Okay, Hadley's got a question for you.
Alex, it's Hadley out in Abu Dhabi. I want to ask you, in terms of those kinds of distractions, so much conversation, of course, surrounding what's going to happen next with this U.S.-China trade deal, and certainly you mentioned there the Thai elections and what that could mean for markets and sentiment. But what about this Mueller report? We've seen this saga seemingly come to an end, at least for the moment, for the president. Does that mean that he'll have maybe a more reinvigorated stance when it comes to taking a look at what's happening elsewhere? What could that mean for sentiment?
It's hard to draw conclusions, especially market conclusions, from the Mueller report. I think it will add confidence, I think, to the president in terms of pursuing his own agenda. But the fact is, what the U.S. needs, whether it's immigration reform or if you're looking at, say, an additional fiscal stimulus around infrastructure spending, that would need Congress. And I think right now with a divided Congress, regardless of what happened with the Mueller report, it is hard to see Washington working together and enacting some of those policies.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.